Chuck Colson has written a review on the shack, and I've made copies of it available for you. It's in our bookshop, and it's simply entitled this, Stay Out of the Shack. I love it. I love Colson. I really respect him and his stand for the gospel. And isn't going light, even in his old age. And I mean that with all due respect. I love when the old guy stands up in the canoe and all the young guys go, sit down, man, what are you doing here? Yeah, stay out of the shack. In fact, there is even a more detailed review of the shack that we'll place on our website this evening for you, and you can download it for yourself. It's about 15 pages long, recommended to me by John MacArthur. He didn't write it, but he's recommended it, and it's absolutely spot on, fantastic. But here's my opinion. You can read what Colson says and download that particular review from our website, horizon.org, this evening if you would like. But maybe even more deceptive, actually, than yoga is this book. And more deceptive, here's why, because it has crept itself into a Christian acceptance. And maybe yoga has too, but I don't see the yoga mats selling in the Christian bookstores yet. And yet this book is. In fact, the author himself sent me a copy of the book, signed it, wrote me a nice note in it. And yet, as lovingly as I can say it, it's a distortion. It is a step away from what Scripture declares and describes God in an entirely different way than how Scripture would describe God, that would be a departure and a distortion from a true perspective that is based on biblical truth. In fact, the shack would describe God as an African-American woman. And Jesus as, it's just crazy. Mark Driscoll, a friend of mine I've gotten to know a little bit up in the Seattle area, calls it a heresy. And has denied the power of the Trinity, this book has, and reduced the true healing power of what Christ declares himself to be here from Colossians 1, and the full atonement of what he has done for us on the cross, and ends up placing this guy in the presence of God in this shack where he starts cussing at God. Can I just assure you of one thing? You will never stand before God and cuss at him. He is not your peer. He's not your bro. He's not the big man upstairs. He is the all-preeminent one who has come to declare righteousness in the name of his Son and deliver us from the power of darkness. And we are to uphold how Scripture describes for him to be. And nothing like, I love the book, man, I was crying by page 100. No, listen, just because you find something that is moving and something that works does not mean it's right. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5 says this, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. There's a lot of wisdom of men out there, a lot of trinkets and little tricky things that we begin to justify and think, I can sort of add this and, everything is fine and going to turn out well in the end. That's like me saying to you, after church, we're all going to have a barbecue at my house. Everybody come over. Well, where's your house? How do I get there? Well, just pick whatever path you want. They all lead to the same place. All roads don't lead to the same place.